It's track review.
Yes! Hi everyone, Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a freaking review of the new Big Sean track, Control. Big Sean is a Detroit rapper. He's been coming up through Kanye West's good music circuit for a few years now, made his commercial debut in 2011 with the album Finally Famous. And I gotta say and get straight to the point so that we can get into this song, Big Sean, in my opinion, is easily one of the most average rappers to hit the mainstream in a while now. In my opinion, Big Sean isn't even really that much of a lyrical rapper, really more of a pop rapper, but still, as a pop rapper, he lacks style, he lacks even a gimmick, which I think even puts MCs like Rick Ross ahead of this guy. Unless I know Big Sean is on the track by reading the feature credit after the song title, most of the time he just comes off like a faceless MC to me. And if you don't believe me, today, when I Googled his name, his face didn't even come up first. Why was I Googling Big Sean? Because he has a new album coming out on the way, and he has dropped a non-album single or a non-album track. He says because of a sample. That may be the case. However, the kind of hip-hop that we're hearing on this track, just like grimy, straightforward, spittin' verses, posse cut kind of shit, that is not really Big Sean's style. It's not really his strong point. Sure, I think on paper a lot of people wouldn't assume that was the strong point of A$AP Rocky either. This song to me has a lot in common with the One Train track off of his last full-length LP. Really feels like he's going for roughly the same thing on this song, with just having a lot of bars stacked on top of each other with a really straightforward, hard-hitting but epic instrumental that feels kind of refined despite the fact that it is so banging. But to get into Big Sean's verse a little bit, there isn't much in terms of what he said that stuck out to me. Yeah, he was talking about making it, getting bigger, doing some name dropping, AK spray, comparing that to cologne. And on top of all of this, it's almost as if he was rapping his bars straight off of a teleprompter, because the dude has like zero personality, zero inflection, and zero passion on this verse, even as he was saying that Detroit is mayorless. And surprisingly, the short final verse on this, while it is pretty decent for Electronica, he finishes the song off, it's very poetic. I dig that one line he throws out there where he earth, wind, and fired the verse but rained on the hook. But still, I feel like even he doesn't come off with a lot of fire on this verse. I don't really feel like he took advantage of this opportunity to appear on a Big Sean track, try to get heard by some new listeners. And on top of it, he drops this one line about signing to The Rock, which really, is that the best career choice you've made? You really want to reference that? In the words of Ab-Soul, you had a release date, but now it's never. The truth is that it's the verse from Kendrick Lamar that makes this entire song. And the thing that's kind of weird is that Big Sean sort of let this happen, though I do feel like people who listen closely to this track do sort of get the hostility, do get the subtleties of some of the stuff that Kendrick is saying on this song. But what a lot of people are freaking out about with this track is that Kendrick is directly calling out other rappers, saying names, saying that, hey, listen, it's sort of nothing personal, but I'm trying to murder you, figuratively. People who are into the competition of the hip-hop game sort of understand where Kendrick is coming from. However, some people sort of say that what he's saying on this verse is sort of taking things a little too far, and I could sort of understand why. A verse like what we're hearing on this track, they don't come out that often. Usually the bragging and the name calling and all of that is sort of more faceless. He calls out A$AP Rocky, Tyler the Creator, J. Cole, Meek Mill, Electronica, Big Sean, Mac Miller, Pusha T, Drake, Big Crit. Some of these guys I'm a pretty big fan of, but I mean, honestly, when I take all of their previous projects and measure them up against Kendrick's previous project, there's no contest, really. I think he could have called out dudes like Joey Badass as well. And, you know, the thing is, while a lot of these MCs are responsible for kind of changing the modern hip-hop landscape over the past few years, still, the question question is, are they trying to be as conceptual as Kendrick in their music? Are they trying to be at that high artistic bar? I feel like this verse and just Kendrick in general with what he's saying, he's trying to put this competitive edge in hip-hop on more of an artistic streak than sort of, I'm obviously a better rapper because I have more of this, I have more of that, I'm selling more copies. While a lot of people are going to get hung up over sort of the name dropping on this track and sort of calling people out, Kendrick goes so much further on this verse that's sort of worth reading into. He attacks sort of a lot of social norms that are following hip-hop around these days. He's like, fuck your clubs, don't pop a pill for me. All these rappers that are taking Molly will be turned into rich, spoiled white girls that are partying too much and crashing their Porsches because they're irresponsible, foolish children, essentially is what he's saying. I'm unsociable, I'm uncoachable, I'm not wearing this designer shit. And why all this hostility? I mean, really, think about it. A lot of people complain all the time about rappers selling out or changing their tune as soon as they get famous, so on and so forth. Think about the kind of music that Kendrick was making on the album Section 80 and the kind of messages that he was putting forward. Then imagine that guy getting famous and actually sticking to his philosophy as he's getting bigger and bigger and essentially being put smack dab in the middle of the world that he's criticizing so heavily on that album. And essentially, to me, where the aggression is aimed on this verse is to like change all of this mindless Molly shit into something a little more substantial. And maybe it's your opinion that sort of going about changing things by competing with rappers in a more traditional way, by sort of being I'm the best, this pumping your chest out, all of that is a little counterintuitive. However, I feel like at least Kendrick has come closer to raising a significant amount of awareness with his more mainstream appeal than a lot of people have with their underground appeal. You know, and not to knock anybody's efforts on the mainstream or the underground level. I mean, obviously the underground is where Kendrick came from originally, and for a guy that has such an accessible sound, his music is fantastic and far from dumbed down. Yeah, maybe on his albums he tends to be a little subtle, you have to read into his stuff a bit, but maybe that's why he's trying to be overt and in your face on this track and on this verse and just sort of tell you straightforward what he's thinking and how he's feeling. If you've given this track a listen, if you've read into the verses on this thing, what did you think of them? Who had the best one? What did you think of specifically what was being said in Kendrick's? And that's it. Anthony Fantano, Control, Big Sean, forever.